What up, everybody? So it's the MyPitboard team bringing you back another race breakdown. We watched Anaheim 1 last night. What a great race. So much hype, so much talent, and we're so pumped to be back with you again and give you another breakdown. So let's give it up for the MyPitboard team that's with us today. So I don't know if you guys want to give yourself a quick little introduction. Someone take it away.
Hey, I'm Ev. I'm the brand specialist here with MyPitboard. So, yeah, we're pumped to be doing this today. We love breaking it down for you guys.
Tyler?
Yeah, and I'm Tyler Medallia, and basically the crash test dummy for my pit board.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
there's me, Kibby. I'm the founder of MyPitboard, and yeah, that's the team of dummies bringing you this race breakdown. So I'm kidding, but yeah, super exciting, lots to talk about, and we're gonna jump right in. So why are we doing this as well? So our company's all about lap times, so we're gonna spread some awareness on lap times to show you what the data looks like, what kind of stuff we can uncover looking at the races,
Mhm.
really find out who was the faster guy on the track, and then just give a good discussion around it. Tyler being a professional himself, as well as Eve, and me, I'm just an engineer, so I'll bring the data and I'll let them take the actual discussion away. But I'll start with sharing the screen, and yeah, let's get right into it. So why don't you guys go ahead and give us what you think of your initial thoughts of the race? So leading up to it, who did you think was going to win and who surprised you? Best and worst outcomes of the 450 main. So tonight, sorry guys, we're going to talk explicitly about 450. That's going to be our main concern. So yeah, 450 main breakdown. Someone take it away.
Yeah, well, I think we all kind of expected things to be a little hectic for the first round. I think it always is, riders moving up classes, everyone being nervous, excited for the first round. You always see like some sort of mistakes and some guys doing getting a little too excited, if I might say. And this is exactly what we've seen this weekend. And as you see further down, the lap times don't lie. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's always a lot of hype going in, and it's super exciting. Even as a fan, um, and not racing, it's exciting. It's one of the most hyped up races of the year, um, for motorcycle racing. So it's really cool. And yeah, you could see there's always some weirdo racing, but especially when the track is as beefy as it was, like two sets of full loader
Yeah.
size whoops is that's pretty daunting, for the guys. I mean, especially walking the track for the first round, you used to got two big sets like that. That had to have been pretty stressful.
Yeah, and they were pretty intense too. Like so many guys got taken out by the rollers. It was crazy.
Yeah, yeah, I think too. Yeah, but going in, at least my opinion is I was gonna put, other than like an oddball, Barsha going for four in a row, which I thought, there was a good possibility of that just because of how he handles pressure, and obviously just even the way he rode in the main was, just textbook Barsha. But it was hard to bet against Kenny coming in. He was my pick to win, and just even from watching practice, you know, when they started their like second time practice, I think whichever one it was, but Kenny got out first. And just because they did that practice start, right? And you've seen how good that initial hole shot that he did. And once if he gets out front, it if his fitness is there, which it normally is, he's kind of lights out. But I think in that first practice, I noticed that he got that fake start hole shot, and then he immediately went to not like the main rhythm, but he was practicing the secondary rhythm, it seemed, right off the bat. And just from that, keeping the speed with whoever was behind him, it was somebody like on it, right on his tail, but he was doing the secondary rhythm and staying just right in that race pace. That was really impressive. And then, that was my, like, I picked him for fantasy, and then that was it. I, break your keyboard, so to speak, because he's a shoe-in. It was for me.
Ev, what about you? Who was your pick for the win?
I didn't know, to be honest. I didn't know, but I really do like Ken as well. So I didn't even look at the lap times during the day too much, but I was really impressed to see Sexton was so up there. during qualifying. So that was impressive for sure. But I didn't have like a one particular pick, but I did have a lot of hope in Toucan as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So just you two being racers, give me what's the feeling in like 30 seconds. What is your gut feeling when you go into the race? What is the gut feeling when you're on the qualifying or getting up to that first heat event? Like what do you think's going on mentally, emotionally? Give us 30 seconds quickly.
I
Well,
think
go
yeah,
ahead.
just stressful. Yeah, I'd be just so stressed. Yeah.
I think
Nervous.
too, it depends on the rider, right? Like, it depends on where you're at, but everybody's feeling like those jitters. If you're not really human. But yeah, I think it's a it's a balance of the right amount of dumb, right? Like if you think too much into it and you're like super smart, then I feel like it's even more difficult to get your stuff together. But yeah, they're all nervous. They're all had the jitters, but hopefully, it's obviously who can manage that the best.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Well, let's get into our next topic, which we will talk about is the track layout. So why don't you give us a breakdown? What do you guys think of the track? How did it break down over time during the main event? And yeah, go ahead.
I guess the big thing, obviously, straight away, even looking at the track map, was that there was going to be two sets of whoops. The size of them was also, if they had two sets of whoops that were built a little bit lower, not as, I mean, maybe not lower, but like they were so sharp, it seemed like, and deep. So I think that was the first thing. And then the amount of rain they had was another thing. Just watching the press ride and then the first few practices, how quickly it got rutted, that was the next thing for me. And then yeah, I mean, the rest of it was pretty standard. I like that it was a long lap and right off the bat for round one, and that kind of set the stage for hopefully they can keep it up with track builds like this and keep it challenging for the guys out there.
Yeah, the track was super interesting to see. It's rare that you see a track like cut back over the start and into itself so often. So it's definitely interesting to see, but it made for a longer lap time, which is super nice for the first round.
Yeah, there's some tricky sections too, especially like that flat track area after the whoops, made for some interesting lines and an inside line to develop as the race progressed. But yeah, definitely super, super cool. So let's actually get into the lap times and see what happened. So here was our top three riders of the main event for 450. So clearly Roczen won with Cooper Webb. Pretty much, what did you guys think about Coop? Looking at the data, it was a slow start, but picked it up towards the end as he usually does, or as he's been showing over the last 2 years. So what do you guys think about a takeaway from Cooper Webb? Do you think, he was just kind of getting the nerves out, or yeah, what's your guys' thoughts?
Well, as you can see, like on the as you can see on the first lap, he dropped his time so much. So his first lap was pretty slow compared to the other ones. So I think that says either we can attribute it either to his position in the pack or just sometimes it's hard to go out there and start at 100% right away. So maybe that was it. But you can see, like, let alone a mistake or two, he is super consistent in his lap times.
Yeah,
Tyler,
I think
go
ahead.
With Coop coming in with Coop, it was like for me it was a big question mark. And then I saw his the paint job on his helmet, which was pretty. It was pretty confident of him to put that. So as soon as I seen that, I'm like, well, I guess he must be thinking that he's ready, anyways. But then I think too is the question marks of how his program was, what was the new bike gonna, how it was gonna work, and then initially, I think I don't know which, I think it was his qualifier where he came in and he tried to cut tight like how he typically does in those races, and he pushed the front and washed out. And initially, I thought, man, I don't think that on his last year's bike that would have happened. I think he would have been able to turn that nice tight line without pushing the front, because that you don't really see him make those type of mistakes. So after I seen that, I was kind of on the fence of how he was going to do, and then but in typical Webb fashion, he got his shit together, and then at the end of the main, he just started picking people off. I know that there was some attrition with people crashing and whatnot, but it doesn't matter. I mean, those are statistics. Like he's a closer, and that's what he did.
Yeah. What do you think about Barsha's performance?
Again, Barsha, like I was expecting him to do well. I didn't think that he was going to do as, just because you can't say that it was luck. Is 3 different years in a row, 3 different conditions on different bikes. So, he's going to be mentally, he's going to be, believing that he's going to win, or, go for it like he normally does. But I think he rode great. The bike looked awesome. I thought those red rims looked pretty cool too. But yeah, he rode awesome. I mean, he was moving forward. He was obviously, himself and being aggressive. I don't know how much longer these guys are going to just let this carry on. I mean, he just completely cleaned their doors off on some of those passes. So I think that's another story going forward. What is Anderson going to do to, if he retaliates, I guess you could say, but we'll see. I don't know how much more of that they're going to do before like AMA will maybe step in and tell him like he's got to chill out. I mean, it's every single year, every time he gets past, what I mean? He goes in for the kill. I mean, I like Barsha. That has nothing to do with him as a person, but that is, that's something they're going to have to think of moving forward.
Yeah, and to be honest, go ahead.
Go ahead, Ev. Sorry.
And no, I was gonna say, to be honest, for a while, like it didn't, like the 4 in a row did not seem impossible. Like he wasn't too close time wise, but he was close position wise, and people were falling down so much that I was like, wait, he might actually like make this happen again. But Kenny just stayed on 2 wheels and kept it together. But for a while, I thought, oh my god, it might actually happen again.
Yeah. I was super excited when I saw Anderson coming up to Barsha. I was like, oh, I hope these guys are going to fight it out, man, for sure. Because Anderson ain't going to take no shit either. So, but yeah, Barsha got the best of him in that scenario. But yeah,
but
so
actually,
earlier.
The fight was actually between Musquin and Malcolm coming off the track. I'm not sure if you guys saw, but it got pretty heated. But that pass was something else. Yeah,
that was bad. I'm not surprised that Malcolm didn't choke him out. Really, that was I don't know. I wouldn't have been too stoked on that. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Especially round 1. Like, God,
that was a stupid move by Marvin, which is not surprised. But anyways, let's get into the. We were talking about the bikes earlier, about Cooper Webb setup and Barsha setup, but like personally watching that Honda, that bike looked dialed. Like Sexton and Roczen just looked so fluid on it. The bike looked like it was working good. It didn't look super stiff. Where personally, when I was watching, Webb and those guys, whether it was a gas or Husky or KTM, the bike just looked so rigid and stiff. Whereas that Honda just looked like it was working so good, which kind of reflected in Sexton's and Roczen's lap times. Like those two were hands down the fastest guys on the track. Sexton was the fastest guy on the track, and last year he showed a lot of signs of speed, and this year, in round 1, that was super impressive to watch him do that. But again, that young mindset, really got the best of him, I think. But he definitely could have had the pass on Roczen, but obviously playing teammates early in the year, they didn't want to, not be too aggressive, which was smart. So I don't know. What do you think, Tyler? Lead it off.
Well, you know what? I actually thought that he showed a bit more patience. Sure, it could have been the teammate thing. Let's not discount that. But I think before the smaller set of whoops, when he kept going inside, I think he could have pushed the envelope a bit more with being aggressive. But I thought he was being patient. He held off. He was waiting for the right spot, I think. Obviously the crash itself was, I think he was riding perfect. I think he was using patience. The second one, he himself said that he kind of was flustered, and maybe it was flustered, but maybe, going for the win with that amount of pressure and in that position, I think, that I don't think even the most experienced guy, I think, would have done maybe the same thing. That big set of whoops was challenging for everybody that was making mistakes. After a small, a previous small mistake like his crash, I can see how that happened to him, that second crash. So really, I just think, he's got to take from that. It was an unreal ride. He's going to be someone to contend with, and he may have gotten a little bit of a gift coming back through the pack with everybody making mistakes, but that's the way racing works, and he could be coming from there knowing that he was the best guy, and look for him to be winning really soon.
Yeah, and I agree. He showed patience in the beginning of the race, and as you can see, every single lap that he did not make a mistake, he was the first one. Like, he was the fastest one out there. But I think like his youth kind of came through after his first mistake. Like you said, the second one in the whoops was for sure, like, it was expected and it was normal, but you could see he was a bit more on edge after that, and I think he got a little more nervous and didn't put so much patience forward after. But it's part of the game, and it's nervous, but it's stressful for anyone making mistakes like that when you were so
and he
close.
is like 22 years old too.
Yeah,
like
super young.
he's just a kid. It's super impressive how fast he is and how flawless his technique is. Like, you look on him, you look at him, he doesn't look like he's trying. He's super smooth. The bike looks really good. I think those guys, they had a big advantage, I think, with not moving around. The same model. So their bike was, you knew that their bike coming in was going to be, dialed right in. So yeah, I mean, yeah. And like you say, Kibby, it shows in the lap times. Like, these guys were lights out. It was impressive.
Yeah. So just one last thing, looking at the data here before we move on, it looked like Sexton was about 0.2 seconds to 0.3 seconds every lap faster than Roczen while he was still on a healthy lap. So yeah, definitely super impressive, and I'm looking forward to the next race to see how this plays out again with everybody.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it moving forward as well.
Yeah, it was cool to see those two get the 1-2 start as well. That was neat. I wonder if they'll, how long they'll keep that going, but and we'll have to talk about Tomac's ridiculously poor start like he always does. But let's get into the Webb versus Roczen quickly. So one thing, looking at bike setup, we knew Roczen was getting. We knew Webb always gets better towards the end of the moto. We also know Roczen, he had a 12-second lead at one point, so he probably started to chop the gas a little bit and just kind of like, okay, just reel this in. I got a large gap, so was probably just dialing it back a little bit. I'm kind of curious, to how much more pace he actually had in him. If, let's say, Sexton didn't go down, or if Sexton passed him, would he be able to roll him back in? But what did you guys think looking at Roczen and Webb? Do you think this battle from last year is going to continue out this year? Or, also one of the things that I saw too was there was a lot of respect after the race. Like, those guys were fist bumping each other, which was nice. So it's cool to see that they got respect back for each other. What do you think?
I don't think that respect thing is, I mean, they share respect, but Webb is ruthless. So if he sees any blood in the water, he's going to attack it. I mean, to be honest, like, the whole Instagram thing with there was like some Instagram drama going on before the race and with Kenny, and that was my one thing coming in. Like, man, that just, like, you don't need that stuff right away. I know how these guys are super athletes and stuff, but man, like, with it, I think it was Courtney Roczen posted something about fake vax passes, blah blah blah. I mean, it's just, that's a bit of negative energy coming in. I wouldn't have been too stoked if that happened in my camp, but you have to know that Webb is going to feed off that, and you can't be giving him these openings like that. But I think the battle is gonna be continuing. Looking back what you just said with the lap times, Kenny dropping off the pace, I think that was, ideal situation for him, as he said that he had a sickness in December, so he didn't get too much time on the bike. So, that he was being an open book about that going forward, into the next weekend. Maybe I wouldn't have put my cards on the table like that early, because these guys like Sexton would probably be the only one who knew that he was going to struggle at the end of the race. I believe if Sexton got by, there was no way Kenny was going to be able to answer. It was Sexton's race to lose, and he lost it. So that's the thing moving forward. How good are Sexton's starts going to be? I think that's going to be the biggest question mark. That Mookie has the speed, Tomac has the speed. All these guys have the speed, but their starts are just atrocious. Even watching their practice starts, it's just that's not going to cut it, man. Look at Vince Freeze.
Yeah.
There's technique involved, and you got to nail it. And that Roczen's technique is perfect. Webb is going to be a consistent starter all the time too. The guys like Tomac and those guys and Malcolm and Ferrandis, if they want a chance at coming with close to these other two guys, it's three guys now. They need starts. That's the bottom line.
Yeah. Have you got any last points to add in on that one?
No, I think Tyler pretty much summed it up for this one.
Yeah. Okay. Well, speaking about starts, friggin' Tomac is absolutely atrocious. So inconsistent with starts. You think that's something that they would just be burning through friggin' practice bikes, trying to perfect those starts? But man, what did you think about him on the Yamaha? He definitely was off the pace, as you can see here on the data. And he showed some signs of speed here and there, but didn't look that great. I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts?
The off the pace thing is in the main event he was in traffic and stuff. He looks great on the bike. He looks great. I think that the bike, just watching when they had them on, whenever they showed him on the feed, he looks good. They have to figure out his starts, and you know what I mean? You can't blame the bike now. I mean, we got to maybe hang on a sec. I mean, that might be too early, but there's a pattern. So, moving forward, there's only so much you can do, right? And then it's react. I don't know what he needs to do. Maybe play catch with somebody. Work on some hand-eye coordination. I have no idea, but that is something they need to look at.
Yeah, I definitely think that the bike, he definitely looked good on the bike. Like, he's a bigger boy, so it looked like it fit him pretty well. But just watching him in the main, it just seemed like he lacked the aggression. I don't know if I'm wrong on that one, but it just, like, sometimes, when he's just mentally on, and like he pulls a Webb, right, where he just towards the last bunch of laps, he's just flying out there and passing guys, and it just didn't really seem like that happened. I don't know, because the competition's so strong now. There's not. I don't know what it is, but yeah, we'll have to see how that one plays out. So, anyways, let's get into the last one and start to wrap things up here. So, another one that was surprising, other than Musquin's bonehead move against Mookie, but he was actually quite fast. Looking at his lap times, here and there, quite inconsistent, but when he was on it, he was definitely faster than Roczen and Webb combined. So, not combined, but together. So there was some surprising speed there, which I was kind of shocked. I really had him checked out of my mind, because I haven't. He's always been injured the last couple of seasons, and Supercross he's always a little hit or miss. But he looked fast. So what do you guys think about Musquin, other than the bonehead move?
He looked good. Like, the lap times don't lie. He was right there. So maybe if it wasn't for that move, because it took him out himself too, so that's why it made even no sense. Like, it was a bad move to begin with, and then it cost him his race as well. Because if you look at the lap times, other than that big mistake, he was right there. So I'm excited to see what it'll look like as we move on to the next rounds, and if Mookie is ever going to pay that back.
Yeah. The lap guys, the lap times as well.
He's going to, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. He's that kind of guy.
Okay, hey, sorry. So just the lap times for Musquin are in blue dots, and then the ones for Webb are in white, just to give you some clarity. Tyler, you got any thoughts on Musquin?
Yeah, I mean, I look for him to be more of a like. I think he's just going to be a consistent guy until you get to them. Um, I think that his lap times were good here because of the track was tricky and it was soft. I look for him to be good in the East Coast when it gets more technical. Um, yeah, so I mean, I wasn't surprised that he rode well and was good in these conditions. It's kind of where he thrives. But yeah, again, moving forward, hopefully he can continue and having good lap times. Obviously, towards the end too. Well, they started to jump through the whoops. That was a big thing. But
That's his
once
specialty.
I feel like
Yeah, that's a Musquin
yeah,
specialty.
and that is a skill, and it's tricky to do that because those whoops are deep, so you have to time them, and yeah, and the problem for him is you have to if they're going to be hard, like those whoops, although the track was soft, those whoops were hard, so it took a lot longer for people to be able to make jumping through them work.
Yeah.
So looking forward to tracks with smaller sets of whoops or that softer dirt where they're going to be built with the dozer and they're going to be broken down pretty quick. That's when I think Musquin will start to show his true colors.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. So last one, and then we're going to wrap it up here. So best of the rest, everyone from fourth and back. So here we got Sexton, Anderson, Tomac, Musquin, and Stewart. So this is kind of the best of the rest of that group there. So just quickly, who do you guys see as going to be the contender for the podium here? That's going to start challenging. What are your takeaways on Anderson on that new Cowie? We talked about Tomac already. We talked about Musquin. So, Stewart and Anderson, what are your guys' takeaways for those two guys? What do you think's coming out of them in the upcoming races? And yeah.
Well, I think you can see that for Anderson, like the end of the race was not it. He just like disappears from the graph and made a bunch of mistakes, but just went significantly slower. So I think that might be something he has to work with. Maybe it's the new bike that tires him out a bit more, or it's the few mistakes he made. But I'm excited to see how it plays out. But I think I was really impressed by Sexton this weekend, so I'm excited to see what it looks like moving forward.
Yeah, for me, the standout was Sexton, but I mean, I think that goes without saying.
Yeah.
Jason Anderson was surprising. I'm gonna say he looked really good. Even yeah, I didn't know what to expect with him. There was some hype about him in the off season, how fast he was going. Even AC had mentioned that he was just trying to keep up with them. So yeah, he's gelling with the bike. He forgot his helmet on press day, and that's kind of one of those things where you're just like, dude, like you I don't know. You got to get your shit together. Like you got to be professional, man. You like forgetting your helmet. Oh man, that's just. It's there's telltale signs, but at the same time, I was like pleasantly surprised with his riding. After the helmet thing, he kind of he redeemed himself with his riding. I mean, obviously he got his doors cleaned off in the main event, but his speed is right there. I think he's going to be. I think he's going to moving forward. I think he's going to do well this year.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see. I mean, even on the graph here, some of his laps are right up there with Musquin and sometimes on par with Sexton later on in the race. Obviously, him and Barsha getting into it, and a little bit of bad luck there. Kind of knew one of those were going to go. Knew one of the two was going to go down, and so it was just a matter of who. But yeah, what about Mookie? Any thoughts on Mookie? He looked really, really quick in qualifying. Yeah, what do you think's going to come out of him on that new Rockstar Husky?
Well, if you look at the graph, last lap he was the fastest one out of those guys. So I think that tells you something, and he will have more to prove. Definitely, with how what happened with Musquin, he kind of got his race stolen from him. So I think he's gonna have a lot more to prove moving forward. So he's gonna come in on fire for the next ones, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Like he was surprising. Well, I guess not really surprising. He's got the talent and speed, but for me, it's like if you're not sure that you're going to get a good start, like you need to move into a position where you have either a bit more room, so you can either go either side of the doghouse, so you can move a little bit coming out of the gate if you're not, if your reaction time isn't that good or your starting technique needs work, or go up the inside so you can squeak around the inside. I mean, people in his corner should be telling him that. Like he hopefully they get their starts together, because I would like to see him up front, because I think he'll be a threat to win. I think some of these moving forward. I just like same thing with Tomac. Those two guys they need to also with Ferrandis too. Like these three guys have to, man, they got to do something about their starts.
Yeah, completely agree. Lots of work, and it'll be interesting to see what happens during the week here, and see what they improve on, and after getting those bugs out, and now that they know where everyone's at in the field, seeing where each other stacks up. So yeah, it'll be cool to see what happens. So thank you guys so much for joining us. So please check us out at mypitboard.com, our YouTube channel, MyPitboard. We actually do a sector time breakdown, and that's on Vital MX. So go check that out, or check out Tyler and Ev's profile. And thank you guys so much for the support. And tune in with us next week when we get back to you with another breakdown. We're so excited to see what happens. How about actually one last thing? Prediction: who's winning the race next week? Someone go. Tyler.
Sexton. I'm Sexton. I think.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Okay, Sexton here. So Sexton across the board. We'll have to see what happens. All right, guys. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.